So we ask the commissioners and presenters and attendees, please mute your microphones and turn off your video feeds if you're not speaking. For those attending via telephone, you can mute and unmute your microphones by dialing *6. The top toolbar contains a raise your hand function in case a commission member or presenter has a question during the meeting. Commissioners and presenters may share their screens using the share content box, which is right above. And the chat box will also be checked routinely, mainly to address logistical questions or issues during the meeting. And this is also important to note during the public comment period and during agenda item discussions, the chair will recognize virtual participation first, and then in-person attendees will be able to comment. As way of information, we will be holding a public comment period at the beginning of the meeting, and each public commenter will have up to 3 minutes to speak. And I will signal to the speaker once time is up. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to our chair.
Thank you. I don't have a lot by ways of introduction today, other than because it's our first meeting of the year, we'll have a couple of housekeeping items to go through, some exciting things that we just want to share that we're getting into for the first quarter. But given we have a packed agenda, we want to stay on time. I'll go ahead and move on. I want to put in a consideration for the December 13th, 2022 minutes that we had for that meeting. If there are no changes to that or questions about our December meeting minutes, go ahead and say that those are approved and good to go. Great. And I'd love to move to public comment. We didn't hear anyone ahead of time interested in public commenting today. And I just wanted to check, is there anyone here or yes?
I don't have so much public comment, but I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Alex Sanders. I applied to be on this committee a few weeks ago.
Lovely. Nice to meet you.
Many years of experience on was the Environmental and Energy Conservation Commission meeting and on other positions that I was waiting on.
Well, this is the perfect meeting for you to attend. We're actually going to talk about openings on the commission a little bit later today, and I'd love to grab you for 5 minutes at the end, if that's okay. We aim to end right on time, so hopefully we'll be too long. Yeah, you'll get a flavor of what we get into today. So thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else on the phone here for public comment today?
I'm not seeing any hand. Oh, never mind.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Nelson.
Hi, I am also joining. Submitted an application yesterday to join the commission as well. I moved to Arlington from New Jersey over the summer after graduating college, and was pleasantly surprised by the amazing parks and public spaces that we have. And was on some email lists for other things with the city. Saw all the opportunities to get involved across local government, and thought this was the best place to jump in at a young age. And I love the parks. I enjoy them very much, and I hope to hear about what the commission does, and hopefully have a space on the commission if everything works out. So also joining to just see how everything works around here.
Amazing. Yeah. Same thing to you, Nelson. Love to talk to you after this as well. Do you mind putting my email in the chat?
Yes.
Marco? Marco's going to put my email in the chat, which is my Gmail. If you could just shoot me a quick message, and I'll set up some time for us to chat next week just to get a quick intro about the commission. We'll talk about this later, but we do have 3 openings right now. After this meeting, we'll have 3 openings on the commission. And we'll talk through a little bit of philosophy here. I'm not interested in filling all 3 unless we have 3 fantastic candidates, right? So we have an opportunity here to be really mindful about adding to the blend of voices here. Awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you, Nelson. Please shoot me an email, and we'll talk after this too.
Yep, of course.
On the chat, but I'll send it over to Matt.
Okay. Anyone else for public comment today? Okay. Well, we have our first agenda item is an exciting, fun one. Takis walked over from his office just a few minutes ago and really thank you for being here in person with us today. We try and hear, just like we've been hearing from Jane, we'll also see Jane Rudolph next month as well. We try to see occur once a year and talks once a year. Last year, we had a little bit of scheduling difficulties, so we wanted to start the year fresh with an opportunity to talk a little bit with Takis about the Forestry Natural Resources Plan, and I understand possibly a little bit of update to that as well, and just a discussion on the implementation of the plan in general. And yeah, really excited to talk with you today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, that would be interesting. How we. It is amazing. It's my first time that I'm in this place. So, you know, we had a cozy name for that. We call it aquarium. Because it's, water fish moving.
Yeah.
And this is actually a piece of public art, which I'm excited that it didn't suffer through the remodeling. So I haven't been here for many years. Last time I was here, I was just providing public comment. So, and I don't remember what it was, but it was important to me enough to come here and provide public comment. So I'm really thankful to all of you coming back, working on things that are super important for this community. 11%, I keep repeating that, 11% of Arlington's total territory, which is not so fast, not so much, is actually parks. We are a place that is blessed with, you know, some natural features that really connects the two things. With geography and topography that has allowed us to preserve a significant part of our environment and make it available to the recreational enjoyment, you know, public park. And on top of that, it's a extremely multifaceted environment that opens the, you know, that opens the whole channels of imagination of what this can be today, how we can use it for our residents today, and how we can use it in the future. Because it hasn't been originally a planned environment, and it's mostly you know, a natural environment. We have, of course, planned parks, classic that fit the classic definition of parks, but most of our territory, parks territory, is in natural watersheds, for around Linear Park, for example, etc. Because of these features, it offers a lot of amazing possibilities. An amazing asset to think about, to fantasize about, to engage in conversation about, and to plan about how we are going to use that in the future. And there is the intersection with the Natural Resources Master Plan. For a very long time, there was not a very clear distinction between the two, asset classes. Now there is a more of a distinction, but at the same time, there is also more of a connection between the two. One presupposes the existence of the other, and this is a very critical part of what we're discussing. Now, you are all, familiar with the initial steps of this plan. Last year, we had presentations, we had conversations. I'm absolutely certain that you received a lot of input from a very interested community. I want to preface everything by saying myself and my colleagues, we are definitely very interested in hearing what you hear. Remember that first and foremost, this is an advisory commission, this is an advisory body. And here I say to you that the board is interested to be advised in what you hear and the nuances, the gray area, the bright areas, the darker areas, everything that you hear, we're interested to hear it too. We are specifically interested to hear it through your filter because you come from so many different aspects that bring a lot of evaluation of this feedback to us. The plan right now is, it has completed several rounds of public comment. Received Jennifer is here. They briefed me today. They gave me numbers, and they said it was more than 1,800 engagement responses, and through all sorts of channels. Now, since the late last fall, the plan is in the process of being reformatted, made a draft document. In this draft document, a complete draft document, something that you can scrutinize and critique from as a serious preliminary draft find its way to adoption. This draft document will be available, will begin to be socialized at some point in late spring or early summer, June-ish, basically. And the idea is to beat the process and get it adopted by the county board in 2023. So by the end of this calendar year. The plan in terms of implementation, because you mentioned the magic word, similar to the public spaces master plan, implementation is embedded in the main document. So there is not the mechanics of having an extra implementation piece that will accompany the plan. But there will be goals, strategies embedded in the same document. So that for me was always it's a hot topic. We want to make sure that we have the best quality of implementation pathways for that. I'm inviting you to be very vigilant and very precise in what you see and highlight opportunities and weaknesses. So say, look, nice thing you want to implement there, but there are a few things that you should be taking into account, and the plan should, or part of the strategies should take these things seriously. So that's where we are today. I know that there has been last year through the budget process, and we are approaching the budget process for the fiscal year 24. We had some discussion about some basics and data collection for the plan, especially with regards to tree canopy. We are receiving a constant flow of requests, to acquire data sets, to do more granular data collection on this. And the county board actually has appropriated some money. It was like $150,000 extra one-time money to facilitate or to accelerate data acquisition that's specifically to tree canopy, tree coverage, and vegetation territory. I know that this is not the only natural resource we care about, but it's one that a lot of people care about first right now. We can discuss what the priorities are in the concept of biodiversity in Arlington, but nevertheless, this is so. As long as I'm informed by our staff is preparing, has been implementing that guidance from the board, but expect the initially envisioned sequence of adopting the plan with its goal, implementation guidelines, and then our staff will be prepared to be immediately ready to create this baseline data, baseline layer of data, baseline data set, with which then we will be measuring the success or not of the implementation. So staff is preparing to be ready to do that immediately without delay, but approval and adoption of the plan comes first, and then immediately we'll go. In parallel, I can tell you also there is an increased regional interest in this, specifically in tree canopy. I very much hope that it will extend to other natural resources and will interconnect to them, because we are basically all in the same class of an ecosystem. I expect also the regional discussion to be significantly more vigorous and elevated in next few months. Actually, there is a lot of movement. The Council of Governments has been looking into acquiring LiDAR data as well. There is a lot of discussion about different typologies of tree canopy, and different thinking about how we embed it and think about tree canopy not only as a natural asset but as an urbanist asset. So as an urban asset, think of Tree Line Street and a park. So this is where we are today. This I wanted to say to you, and then all years. The year where you I forgot the last thing. So when I said that the plan in its preliminary draft, but complete preliminary draft form, that this will be available at the end of the spring, beginning of the summer. That means that it will be also socialized with all the essential commissions that are involved in that, including this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And before we continue, I just wanted to make sure if folks on the line, are you all able to hear us clearly when we speak? I know there's been some back and forth when it comes to the volume.
Able to hear you a little bit more clearly now. I think the main issue is if folks' heads are down, it's harder to hear because the mics
Okay.
are kind of above your heads. So if we can just
Into the
keep our heads up while we speak.
Yeah, there
That
are
seems like
microphones right above us in this room, so yes, if you can.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll try
And
and
thank you, Max, and everyone that's on the call.
please pipe up if you can't hear us again. I think it's important that you know.
I hope I was audible. I will try to talk towards the sky.
Yeah, no, I think I really appreciate you being open to talk with us about the FNRP in particular, because I think the general reaction I felt as this being our first draft getting out there was just gratitude that we're able to have something on paper that is very official in the plan, ready for implementation. I feel like then I said a big sigh and say now we have to push on the aggressive implementation that we feel is to the standards, right? And obviously remain grateful for when this continues to be funded for next year and the year after. But I think when we're thinking about moving on to this next phase of the draft, if you will, and putting it into solid plans and thinking through what are the things that we're most concerned about not working out, it comes down for me to the basics here. Things like the remaining open lands for acquisition in our county are dwindling, and our inability to put money behind it today is what's hindering our future in terms of park acquisition. And I'm not saying that the plan does not consider that factor. It does provide an outlook for that, but I think we should consider continuing to put our foot down on that battle. That money needs to be provided for acquisition today.
Rudy, is that the park expansion, parks expansion strategy, or is that a natural resource strategy?
I think, yeah, I think, please, I'd
both.
love for the
It can be
commission.
both.
Yeah.
But I want to understand the motivation behind that.
I think it's more than just a quality issue. I fully think it's a quantity problem, that we need to beef up our available land acquisition property, period, for future and evolving use cases as planning continues, right? And that's what the FNRP is all about. Not thinking about the short term of what a certain neighborhood needs or what we need for 2023, but how are we going to keep this community alive for the 10-year outlook, for the 15-year outlook? And I think from that standpoint, it's quantity. Yeah, please open it up, guys. Raise your hands. Folks on the line, we will be looking out. Peter, I see your hand. Let's start with Colt, and then we'll go to Peter.
I've been following the plan throughout its, from beginning to now, and I would certainly echo Sharuti's comments about acquisition of land. We speak a lot about green space, in which we Arlington isn't going to grow any more green space. We're going to have to buy it. And we can work with developers to get some green space, which turns out to be, when you actually look at the designs, hardscape plazas with benches with little strips of grass. Occasionally, you get an Amazon that comes in that, of course, knocks it out of the park. But in terms of adding green space, putting a green spot next to an outside table restaurant just doesn't count. But we're counting. So we need to work at really obtaining, just like the public spaces master plan tells us, we need the space. And every time there's a good reason. Firehouse in Clarendon, Firehouse, great reason, but every time parks lose.
And even, I mean, and I'd love for like people who participate in SPRC to also echo these comments, but like our trade-offs don't seem valuable enough right now, in my opinion, that we're having to give up for public open space that isn't really public. Can I go to Peter first, and then we can go back? Yeah. Peter, please.
Hi, hi, Takis. Thank you for joining us. I guess I want to echo what Shruti and Colt were saying in terms of land acquisition. You know, the public space master plan is a pretty terrific document and very specific. And I forget the name of the index, but or the section in the back, but it gives very specific guidance on pieces of property that the county is interested in getting. And somehow the board has to help us kind of play hardball to get though. The one that really jolted me was 4608 Quincy. I think that's the number, where it was identified in the public space master plan that it should be gotten. It's an obvious addition to an existing park. And the landowner just said, well, I don't really want to sell it to the county. And then they turned around and sold it to somebody else who tore down the house and built a McMansion. And it was just a total loss of something where, you know, I don't know, we've gone back and forth as to how hard the department can play. But either we need the county more than just the department itself, but the county board to really weigh in, or we need to try and get some legislation or regulations that make it as important to get parkland that we need as it is to get highway land that we need.
We don't need highway land. We need parkland.
Yeah.
I can at least vouch for one thing. We never voluntarily will buy anything for highway acquisition. The pressures are huge, and you may, accuse us of being too soft on it. But willingly, we're not going to do that. And I actually think that Arlington has amazing possibilities of looking at parts of our hardscape. A lot of parking lot creators. There's one right outside.
Yep.
So these are other opportunities that I can see. It's very interesting to hear that. I have to tell you personally, I come from so it's not that Arlington hasn't done a lot. I mean, last time we put a 10-acre goal, we actually almost got 10 acres.
Yeah.
For a year, it was more or less. Of course, as we go on, the availability or the low-hanging fruit in that is not so low-hanging anymore. So it will be more expensive, and it will be also more difficult to get, period. So I'm looking for a dense scrutiny of other available spaces that could be converted. So it's not only acquisition, but also conversion to me for that. They can be, the biophilic discussion actually invites to do that. You have to introduce nature where it actually was external before. So strict division between built environment and natural environment is now lifted, and we want conversation of the two assets. And then I also think that is an excellent, personally, I think that it's an excellent moment to say, oh, we know that my advocacy self say, oh, we know that it's very difficult. You have to do that first. Yes, we need more. But don't underestimate the issue of quality. Don't underestimate the issue of quality. Make sure that, like you said, that Amazon knocked it out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
And I agree. But for a moment, think about, so this is what a lot of money can buy. Let's begin there.
2.58.
Yes. And yeah, but also extreme land use around it.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And it remains to be seen what kind of an ecosystem will be growing there, because I
Yeah.
do believe that the community has jumped on that, and we have several iterations of a multi-purpose space that is sometimes more of a park and sometimes more of something else, more of a public square. And at some point as a community, we have to begin to my opinion at least, begin to think about spaces that are more exclusively park, or exclusively, but less exclusively always multi-purpose. So look at recent parks, like Jenny Dean, for example, etc. Would you say that we do everything to elevate nature there, or did we do everything to elevate use?
Yeah.
And what is the right balance?
Right. It's a combination. So you're trying to protect the watershed area and make that nice and biophilic. And it's been a recreational area for communities of color and everybody else in Arlington.
And also think about all these assets that we have. Don't have actually the plan is bringing them back to our conscience. For example, our water. A complex ecosystem with enormous recreational use. There's an enormous value for the ecosystem.
But
so I hear you.
but I'm
Will be budget time again, and we will talk about acquisition and how reasonable it is, or how strategic it is to present that as a earmarked piece of the budget, or to have the assurance that if we see an opportunity, we take that opportunity. I do think that the plan, as it is written, where the general thinking and plan goes, wants us to give you an assurance that we can do the acquisition if we need it, moment we need it.
That's exactly,
yeah.
talk is I'm dealing with a simpler issue of just the question of why can a landowner say that they don't want to sell to the county? If the county wants it, why can the landowner say, no, we're not going to sell to the county?
Because this is Virginia, and because these are rights that we could always do the eminent domain, right? But that has so many implications, and that opens so many kinds of work that I wouldn't go there except if it is a case that is really extremely pressing. We have other
That's what
I want to remind everybody about something else.
That's what would give the public space master plan some teeth.
Yeah. I want to remind you also about some other intersecting issues. For example, stormwater management. Stormwater management will be one of the biggest ever challenges that we had financially, at the very least. As you have seen in the 10-year CIP last year, we approved more than $300 million just for that. Now try to think that land is involved, naturalized land is involved, land relief is involved. So, I mean, in my advocacy, I would see opportunity there.
Right. Melissa, I'm gonna just set up a deck, Melissa, and then Jill, and Cole, did you have one you wanted to come back? Yeah, so then, and then Sarah, great, so, Melissa, Jill, Cole, Sarah.
Try to drag the conversation back a few minutes, but you mentioned, SPRCs, stuff like that. So a couple of SPRCs I've been on, the building, developers mentioned, oh, we'll have a great green space, like wonderful, but like just for the tenants. I'm like, yeah, I hate that. So I know it's frustrating, right? Because they want to have the private space for their tenants. But at the same time, it feels almost false to advertise green space and not mention it's private green space until the actual meetings are happening. So I'm wondering, it's kind of a vague wish that we could have them have like equal green space available to public and equal green space available. Like a matching 401k sort of situation where they have private as well as matching public would be something pretty fascinating to try and push developers to do a little bit.
I beg you, because we see that very late in the process. I beg you to flag these. I will give you examples where I would really pull my little hair that's left on my head. Boston, for example, right in the middle, there is a passage. As a little, so you should be able to use that passage, first of all, to access public transit, but then also to have the ability to enjoy public space that is delivered because we gave the density there. So there is a fence and an electric door. You need a phone. So I would love to be able to pressure on these. There's not too much. So when you see them, flag them. Let us know. I do think that we have to graduate out of this private public. They have a lot of new opportunities, by the way, side developers. I mean, to put green space and recreational space in the building or as part of the architecture of the building. So downstairs should be something different. I'm also advocating. I mean, just today, so we will get a site plan for 23rd Street down in National Landing, Crystal City, and there is a public space number 10.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see there, this will be Arlington County controlled space. And what I see is a very uninspiring, in my very humble opinion, and I say that with all reservations, of a big lawn and a few trees around. This is a southwestern exposure. A lot of light, which is in a high-rise environment, not a thing that you get every day. And this would be an amazing opportunity to start something different. For example, you could have a grove, a tree, little. It is just 8,000 square feet. So the recreational value of that, in terms of just sheer delivery, is not great. But if you had it full with trees, it would be a completely different story. And you have a super park next door. It's walkable distance with as much green space as you want. So these kind of, opportunities. I see so many pocket parks, little speckles of green around, and every single one has to have a playground and a grass and bench, etc. We could, dedicate some to playground, maybe 60%, and reserve 40% for something different, for different natural delivery of the space. This is part of the conversation I would love to.
So I endorse all the comments up until now, and I thank you again for being here. But I want to go back to what you were talking about in terms of our existing space and making it of a high quality. Because at the moment, Nova Parks, for example, and the National Park Service have huge swaths of Arlington, territory that's in Arlington that's just getting decimated by invasive plants and deer, and is contributing to erosion problems and stomach, and there could be so much more that can be facilitate improving the quality there. So I want to make sure that stays on the radar. We are, Arlington is one of 6 municipal owners of Nova Parks.
So, you know, there should be no reason why we couldn't have a significant say in improving the quality of those parks, of an environmental.
Are you getting Nova Parks here to visit?
Oh, yeah, they were here last month.
We had
And,
one.
and what did they?
Oh, well, they had a lot of things to say. But the first thing they said was, well, just volunteer.
Just volunteer, bring in more Arlington volunteers
Yeah,
to
just
clear those
volunteer.
invasives. Yeah, that was from the executive.
And so, you know, and Jane was here and she had a colloquy with, you know, the director of the parks, who, you know, and they were, you know, touting the value of volunteers, which as volunteers, you know,
Jane's in the, you were, I mean, not Jane, you were in the ending pictures guild.
Right.
they're trying to
Advertising
get
and
me to
volunteering.
join
I mean,
the
like,
parks.
that's not what we're asking for.
No, we're not asking for that because ultimately, I know at Upton where I'm a volunteer, what worked with working is actually getting money for invasive plant contractors. We also need money, tree planting, new ones, understory planting, need deer protection. And that's just what I personally can attest to, but I'm pretty sure the same thing is true at Potomac Overlook. And I also worry about what's happening, you know, what might happen with the trail and enrichment of that. Now they claim at their presentation that it would be an improvement for the environment because there would be significant environmental adjustments underneath the bike path expansion.
Yes, they can definitely, they're definitely capable of excellent project that is enhancing, not pushing them out. But it needs to be fought for.
It needs to be fought for, and right now we just have the money for the planning. But similarly, you know, there's an expansion that's been proposed for the Vernon path, which runs. So, you know, these are things that there should be standards, like you were talking about the Council of Governments trying to make sure that we have a quality tree canopy. So, you know, the best minds need to be put to work here.
I would be coming back on when we get to that point. I think that it would be helpful to have an annual check-in with our representatives too. Because I think that this is, they are following the business of parks all the time, and they can, it's a good thing to have your perspective in mind.
Yeah, and I think Nova Parks is a great thing in the sense that it is acquiring a lot of parkland throughout the whole region. I mean, I can't even tell you how many acres, and every year it seems like they get more and more acres. It's not in Arlington, but it certainly does benefit the region.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not anti-Nova Parks, but I want to make sure, since we are so limited, that what we have, and a large part of what we have is Nova Park, is very high quality.
It's a longer conversation. I want to pin down what quality really
Means.
quality, how we can find quality. I
Perhaps
find
as-
our own parks as lacking quality. Some are absolutely gorgeous, a long formal around, but others have significant deficiencies. So you walk into Johnson Run even before the, you know, you would be hard pressed to find a bench to stay, or you know, it wouldn't be always easy to be around. The educational opportunities are, you know, around the nature centers, the ones that are. But I think that we could gain a lot invested in quality designing.
I'm just talking about the quality of the trees. I'm just
Yes.
talking about the quality of the trees and the plant, the presence of them.
And the quality of the trees. Say,
Yeah.
the moment that you begin to design the whole thing, you see also the challenges. You said
No
understory.
question.
We are a community that, unfortunately, as you know, we were very agricultural. The last dairy farmer was on the tax rolls 91. So we have a lot of pre-inventory that is the same age,
Yes, we do.
or more or less the same age, has gone through the same, devastating circles of certain people and Dutch LPC and all this. So we had a lot of stressors that are common to the entirety of the population. And frankly, just recently we understood that we have to grow biodiversity instead of only,
It's true.
three types of.
But if you look at Marcy Road Park, which was just finished, like, I don't know, within the last few months. And then you look at the line between Marcy Park and where Potomac Overlook begins. It's very, very clear that Arlington County has high value native plants, stopping
Yeah.
erosion, putting in the right quality, putting in deer protection. And you see the absence of that very starkly. When you go to the.
Is there a moment with board interaction with Nova Parks that we can perhaps either prepare you for
Yes,
or
yeah.
have you come?
That's why
Guys,
when
yeah.
I
Let's work with Sandra
when I
and-
meant when I said that I asked you whether they come here.
Yeah.
Here.
It's always informal and it's not like our rationale for them coming last time was just that we want to be able to grow them on.
I think it's absolutely legitimate to have a conversation about their abilities and challenges in that.
And we can prepare you for that either through a letter or
Yeah, I would,
conversation briefing.
and
I mean, if they can't do it without money, I mean, so that's obviously a conversation that we have to have.
I want to keep this going because we do have many more items. So
Sorry.
quickly, Cole, Sarah, Neil, okay, great. Yeah.
I'll just go quickly through some specific things that were part of it.
Thank you.
I mean, I think one of the things that we have to think about is integrating with our brother and sister organizations. And you had mentioned stormwater and we have APS. And in both cases, we can work more closely together. I've seen cases where stormwater is arguing about, well, we're putting in a stormwater thing, but we're sorry, we're cutting off the access to this park and we don't do parks. And that was at Gulf Range. So there are clearly money might have to be spent, but yes, we need to look at things more cohesively. That stormwater management approach falls also into our new stormwater. We need a stormwater incentive program for local, the stormwater bill that I have to pay should be dependent upon the impermeable surface that I have on my property. And it's a guess though. It's a real wag. And they talk about, well, we don't want to make the administrative costs so burdensome. So we could really detect that, you took out your patio and put in some. So I think we can do it. I don't think one size has to fit all, but that would be more expensive to run than it. But there should be some incentive there for me, homeowner, to say, oh, I'm gonna change this up and maybe I'll get a credit. That's
or
specific. Or exactly, reduce my fee.
which is already built in many things.
Yeah.
Like the last. I think that we will get there not very far in the future. So since the stormwater authority will have to finance basically the stormwater mitigation. And I remind you one thing, it was literally 4 inches of rain in 3/4 of an hour. July.
Oh, yeah.
So July 8th.
Yeah.
So this is, you need significant bioretention assets around and
What makes you think it's not too far?
because I think that the pressure of managing stormwater, the cost of that. Remember that in the 50s, the help of the Army Corps of Engineers, we not only culverted volumes they thought were reasonable back then. But we also subdivided and built on them, which, we shouldn't have done. So I think that all this will, in the next 50 years or so, will a significant expense of rearrangement of territory and the stormwater. Like we are coming late to this, we are building up now stormwater that will literally raise the money to fix this specific problem.
Hopefully faster. I want
So
quicker than that.
I think that at some point, some of the director of the now I have the technology to measure
Yes.
the relative permeability of the perviousness of the ground, the moisture retention and capacity of the ground. These are 10 measures that you have that you can implement to increase the moisture retention capacity of the ground. And if you don't want to do that, we will have to mitigate the impact of this. And this is the this is the cost, and this is how I'm going to raise the money for that. It's just a transition that you have to start at some point with an easier system to implement, and you get more sophisticated as you go. Mind you, also we are a democracy, and people vote on these things, and it is painful when your general cost of living well, this is not a fee, this is just another tax.
And it's already very expensive, fully understand. We gotta get
So, well, it's very expensive for many, it's not expensive for others. Environmental justice and equity is another problem because, whether you are rich or poor, the ground is the ground, and we have to find ways to distribute the burden in an equitable way and not only in a one-to-one mitigation thing. That's an additional social burden. I have to tell you that everything that we are discussing right now, including the access to parks, has a daunting equity. It's elevating daunting equity. And there we have an entire class of citizens who own nature. Period. They can afford to own nature.
in our county.
Yes, and part of the value assets, access to nature. Others less so. And restoring balance there over very long periods of time not going to be easy. So it's not only acquiring land, but acquiring in the right place for the right people in an ever-changing relation. So
Location.
I'm in for this, but just help me out.
All right. So Sarah and then Neil, I just want to make a last call for anyone else who'd like to make comments. I just want to move us on in the agenda. I know having Takas here is special though. So anyone else after Neil want to speak today? This item? Cool. Sarah, go ahead.
So my question is actually similar to the point you just made. I live in multifamily housing, it's a 13-story condo building. I don't own nature, right? I have a balcony and sometimes I put potted plants on it, but they usually die because they're potted plants. And in my mind, like that's true for a lot of residents in Arlington. It's going to, like the number of people that's true for in Arlington is only going to increase over time. And in my mind, biophilic design is a solid path forward to starting to like mitigate that problem, right? Like building buildings better so that they are in congress with nature and provide better access to the outdoors, better sunlight, and they provide better streetscapes, makes it a more enjoyable life for people like me who don't have that. And a sidewalk is my yard, right? But I guess like Arlington entered the Biophilic Cities Network in 2020, and we're starting to see bits and pieces here and there in like sector plans. But outside of the like very arduous work of the members of this commission in SPRC meetings, I don't see a lot of like concrete path like steps forward in the realm of making Arlington more biophilic. And I'm curious what you think, kind of what the future of biophilia in Arlington and biophilic design over the next like 5 to 10 years will look like, and whether there will ever be any more concrete steps towards codifying these approaches beyond, the token biophilic design principles that go into sector plans that are often only like partially incorporated by.
Oh, sure, short answer. I think that we need now that we are in this, we agree that this is a good thing and a critical accepted community to, we definitely need to educate ourselves and educate our applicants, others, what this translates into, right? I'm still hearing amazing arguments about where you cannot have a green because the balconies, for example, green balconies are absolutely feasible. They need to be engineered to be sustainable, and everything, the moisture, capture of rain, and all these things. So eco-modified. One thing that doesn't help us at all, honestly, is the fact that the shortage of housing that we have is focusing us to the poor delivery of human settlement. And we are more lenient with other things, not to put too many bells and whistles around that. It's the same discussion. What I think we should maybe consider is at some point this commission could help us to get together a few experts, have maybe a panel discussion about other cities have done it in the following way. They issued at some point a good practices toolbox, and they produced the viable. They showed how you can build balconies in a different way, how you can have a flexible use for green roofs, etc. They built kind of a white paper, and every time you would go to the PRC, you would refer to this and say, no, I'm not asking you to do something for which you are the expert, I am the amateur. I'm asking you to tell me why you can't really implement that. Why is that outside your pro forma? Why would you be able to do it? You will get away once, twice, thrice, four times with all the other pressures, and then it will begin to be something they will volunteer to do because buys points for the project. There is another thing I think that biophilia has to be supported by a general rethinking design. One of my goals this year is to figure out how we can actually reward good design that includes things in material ways, like making it's a little bit less expensive, doing a moderate rewards for that. But I'm all ears to hear how you like to leverage.
Perhaps we take that on as like a next step on biophilia for this commission, since historically we've kind of owned that topic, but we have kind of circulated like a informal, keep this in your back pocket if you have nothing to say at an SPRC meeting topics. We could make that into a must-have minimum qualification.
Very few people and among our civic leaders understand biophilia is not a feature. Nice to have, but it's a system. You create a viable ecosystem. That's your goal.
It's a framework of thinking. You're supposed to rewrite the entire design process. You just slap some street plantings on the design at the end.
Mostly
right?
think that it's just a fee for container garden.
Right, and I think that the planning, personally, I don't know if you guys all feel, I feel like even the planning commission is in on it. I think we have some good public support, yeah, but it's a problem of putting those thoughts into paper, having some meat behind it, maybe some staff support, like you said, conversations, panels, that the applicant can be educated.
Involve those who actually make the initial design decision.
Yeah.
Architects, builders, engineers. There are several. They will come. They are interested in producing good buildings. They just don't want to look silly when they go to their financial and they and why do we have so much money?
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of, getting too far into this rabbit hole, but we're in the third year since Arlington entered the Biophilic Cities Network, and we still get initial proposals at SPRC meetings that aren't thinking about it. And so,
Sure.
when are we going to get to the point, and what do we need to do to get to the point where that first draft of the design that I received as an SPRC member already meets all of the criteria?
Yes.
We shouldn't have to sit in meetings for 3 months to go through this when there's these best practices out there, and Arlington has publicly stated a commitment to these principles, and developers should understand that. And I think staff should understand that as well in the initial site planning conversations that happen before the SPRC begin.
Well, in the negotiation process, those thresholds were had. But we did get some buildings that we'll be able to show.
Yeah.
And
perhaps, I know that we're beginning to get those, for sure.
There are also lower hanging fruit. APS was mentioned.
Yeah.
Arlington Career Center.
Yeah.
That you have to grow an entire class of new trades to deal with finance and.
Perhaps we start, I just been trying to wrap us up a little bit. Neil, I know you still have some comments to make, but we've got a next step here to do some things with Nova Parks. Perhaps as the next step, we take on a PRC 101 topic of re-meeting with some planning staff and have that conversation about what does that initial meeting with the applicant look like? What needs to be better armed for better first drafts here on biophilic design specifically? And I think staff is the right target for that potentially. And we can suss out if we think that we need additional white papers, guidance that we need to call research for, whatever it may be, from there, perhaps. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
So I guess kind of like I don't know if everybody's familiar with part of the public space master. Any building or developer that's looking have a construction project that exceeds a certain floor area ratio. They contribute a certain amounts of money not disclosed in any way, shape, or form. I think it's up to the discretion of the developer to give whatever they think is a reason to public amenities, which are really different. I think there's a line, at least at an internal area, like a benchmark of how much money per unit we'd like to see developers contributing to. Be a little bit more exclusive about what sort of things we're willing to let them, put that money towards. I think sometimes we're pretty liberal about where we're allowing them to constitute a public amenity.
Totally.
When
And also, depending on the audience, I think it has a different connotation. Like if you're at, art people, they're gonna push for that. You know what I mean? Like what the public amenity is the audience needs.
Yeah.
We need to put out our position on.
And I think the board could be a great vehicle for that because you don't have to advertise to developers what your benchmark is, but you can have a good sense of what you're willing to accept as public amenity, and then how much is a reasonable amount per unit they're willing to contribute.
In the interest of time, all these I have a lot of opinions on that. I've seen myself how these negotiations go that are done is because we don't have the classic proffers where you list, right? And we like to have developers of high value development projects coming in with a lot of appreciation of our priorities. Know how our priorities are, and I agree that it's not very high because housing is higher and streets and transportation. But this question is how much more density they get. Trouble, exactly. And these deliverables are actually disclosed at the end, and you can have a benchmark. We are, but I agree that they are dispersed into many conditions. There are projects officials. So, well, yes, city building is complex, so that's all that thought, I would be very interested at some point to discuss about where biophilia really fits there and what we could get for that. Because the different stories to say you deliver a park or you finance a park or co-finance a park, like we did Gateway Park for us. But the different story is to see, you know, how we value the amenities in the building or right next to the building. I will be happy to come back on this. That's that. We have also also the board has also asked the county auditor to look at how well we monitor the delivery of these conditions. So it takes so long to have a report on this.
It's a big step for sure. Okay, let's think about that too. All right. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Takis, for being here today. We will continue the conversation with you. Everyone here, you know, our charge is to be advisors to the board with unprecedented access to staff. Well, Takis is the board for us, so I encourage you to develop a relationship with him. You know, feel free to email if you need anything, but but also, you know, come to me with topics. You know, we can always go back and have another conversation like this. Likes to be involved on the ground, and we really appreciate that. So thank you. Feel free to stay or go as you need, I know. All right, our next topic, guys. So we've been having a little conversation back and forth. We're going to get an update now on the security and policing in Arlington County parks. This is more of an update, guys, that we wanted to hear what the new policy is going on policing in parks. I'm just prefacing this where I think that we should continue to keep abreast on this issue as the topic develops. I don't see a need for a letter at this point on this topic, but we're going to hear a great presentation from DPR staff right now, and I want to consider to think if there are any opinions we need to voice, but we will follow this topic, and in the future, there is really no like board element right now. So yes, please, I'd love to turn it over to staff.
I see Michael is on the call with us right now.
Wonderful.
Yeah, hey everybody, thanks. Can you see me?
Yes.
All right, thanks for having me. You know, this is a little bit about policing, but it's more about kind of like what our rangers all offer and what we offer as Parks and Natural Resources staff. You know, we don't have all the tools and everything, you know, to be police officers. You know, our rangers are more there to, you know, inform residents, inform the park users of, you know, what the rules are and to help people out and answer questions. So I did put together a little about 5-page PowerPoint, just kind of an overview of what our rangers do, what Parks and Natural Resources does, and more so inside of our ranger unit within Parks and Natural Resources. Let's see here. Let's start. All right. So should be up right now.
Yep.
All right. So you know, just park safety. And you know, onto the next slide, just jump right into it. So overall, our parks are safe. The main stuff that we handle within as our park rangers and that we take calls on is things, you know, graffiti, vandalism, dogs off leash. All this stuff takes us, you know, to one part of the county. And if you only have 2 or 3 people, rangers working at that time, you know, they're, you know, dealing with some stuff. So it may reduce patrols in other areas. You know, like I said, our parks are safe. Anyone that wants to know any more about like park safety, park rules, how to feel comfortable within parks and our natural areas, we have tons of resources. You know, you can reach out to any of our Parks and Natural Resources staff, anybody that anything to do with our nature programming. You can visit one of our nature centers. And some of those staff, park managers, nature center staff, and our rangers as well, they all have the knowledge to, you know, inform you like of the park rules, what's allowed, what's not allowed, and kind of how we try to handle things as far as not so much policing, but just monitoring and being a resource, being eyes and ears out there, and to to make our parks, as safe as possible. As I mentioned, graffiti, vandalism, dogs off leash, those are the majority of our calls. Graffiti, anywhere from simple tags along the trails to complete bathrooms and or other things having graffiti on them. It takes a lot of our staff resources to look this stuff over, clean it up. And so that's a big thing that we deal with. Vandalism. Um, I don't know why people do it, but some people will go in bathrooms, just rip dryers off the wall, or just smash a toilet. Just things that seem unthinkable, but things happen. So, and then dogs off leash. It's a very common thing, but it's a thing that our rangers answer calls to very regularly. Anything that's seen as like a public safety issue that is beyond normal notification would be, we'd encourage anyone to call 911. We don't have the enforcement, the tools, the resources. We're not the police. Our rangers are strictly there, like I said, to be eyes and ears, notify people of of the rules, and then if it needs to be escalated, our staff is also instructed to call 911 if emergency arises. Rangers educate and enforce park rules. So park rangers provide educational and support service for park users while enforcing park rules. We have 4 full-time park rangers. We have 1 part-time ranger. They work 7 days a week. They're in the parks from 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. With counting our parks and natural resources staff, who usually are in the parks around 6:30. And then in the summertime, even earlier, you're talking about coverage from a long period of the time. So we usually always have someone either in a park or near a park cleaning. So we have eyes and ears out there. So we feel that the parks are really safe. You know, our rangers, we have to cover 148 parks. So that's just, you can't be everywhere at once. So a lot of our rangers, when they're called or when they get a call in, that takes them off their patrol route, onto a call. So we just can't be everywhere. Of those parks, 49 miles of paved trails, asphalt paving throughout the county that our rangers are overseeing. We only actively monitor and respond to park property stuff, but that doesn't mean that we won't get calls in for we talk to Nova Parks, we talk any other stuff that we may not have direct ownership of. If we get a call to it and we're able to respond and de-escalate, we might be asked to go to that area, but not necessarily intervene, because if it's something, out of our hands, we would do the same as calling law enforcement. The role of the ranger is enforcement, not law enforcement. So the rangers, like I said, as I mentioned, we don't have the training, we don't have the equipment, we don't have we don't have the ability to answer that call. If someone's in a bathroom after it's supposed off, we can go by the bathroom and say, please exit. If it escalates anything beyond that, to verbal or physical assault, we would call the rangers. If there's like I said earlier, a notification of a pipe busting in a park after hours, our rangers would respond. They would call call a plumber, call another park manager. But that's the type of stuff our rangers are doing. We're out there, we're being the eyes and the ears, but we're about having the parks be safe. We look at a statistic. We try to get how many interactions our park rangers have in a year, whether it's notifying someone of the rules, notifying a homeless person of the things that are out there, the resources that are available to them. Like I said, it's about education. And so we try to pull those numbers every day after a shift. Our rangers report, kind of back of how many interactions they had, on a wide scale of things. And we usually calculate about 15 to 1,600 interactions with our park rangers, some positive, some not so positive, some responding to homelessness, some, someone sleeping in a park, some responding to vandalism, graffiti, and some stuff, just having interactions while they're walking along the trails and saying, where do I go for this, or how do I get to this? And, they're able to provide that information. So these right here, there's a couple of questions that were pre-submitted, that I worked with Marco on. And, alcohol is only permitted in selected parks through a special event permit process. So, drinking's not allowed in parks, right? So, but does it happen? Yes, but this goes back to all those parks, all those paved trails, and we just can't be everywhere. If we get a call about drinking in a park, we'll respond. While we're trying to be as proactive as possible, drinking park, you're reacting to a call. We go out, we talk to the individuals. Usually it's drop it, run, pour it out, and it's over with. But sometimes if it escalates, that's when our rangers become, you know, be the person calling, for additional backup, because it's no longer in their hands. Once it becomes verbal, once it becomes physical, we don't want our rangers involved in that, and they're not trained to be involved in that. So that's why we'll request assistance from police. Sleeping overnight in the parks is not prohibited. After the parks close, it's closed. They're not allowed to sleep in the parks. Sometimes we'll go out and we'll have contractors clean the bathrooms at nighttime, and they'll come across someone, they'll kindly ask them to leave. People prop doors open, so we try to get out ahead of it, have our rangers check all the restrooms in the evening time to try to make sure we're providing a safe environment. And this goes along with our rangers being educators, right? We give them all the resources and knowledge that they can turn over to anyone that's in the park, whether they're vandalizing, give them alternatives, whether if they're homeless or want to sleep in the park, giving them resources to help them out, notifying the correct, we got here at ACPD, is made aware of their location. And so that way, just try to give them the tools to be able to help everyone out, and not make only the park situation safer, but make the person's individual life safer. See here. So our Park Safe program, we work, with the ACPD, and we partner with them. And so this hasn't been revamped in a while. And so currently, with us and police, we're looking at revamping, our Park Safe program. And so it's a two-strike system that users receive warnings and violations of park rules. So we're able to park safe someone, and what that is, we give them a warning, trespassing, or and then from there we can say, here's your first warning. From there, if there's another issue, we can park safe them again. And there's appeals process to this, but also that if someone's been been trespassed from a park, yes, can it result in arrest? Absolutely. You know, Again, back to, there's so many parks, like we're only going to know that they're there if they're causing an issue again. And then like I said, we don't make the arrest. We would notify police, they would come down, and it would be up to their discretion what goes on from there. Like I said, we got the authority to hand out these warnings. Beyond giving the warning and the notification, that's where the ranger's authority stops. You know, when we hand out these park safes, if it's usually because we were called to a particular place. It wasn't that we were, every once in a while, we'll get lucky and we'll just wander upon something through our normal patrols, and then we're able to stop something before it happens, just by de-escalating situations. But with the rangers, and we're not working off any bias. We don't go to places looking for issues. We try to respond when called upon, and like I said, we de-escalate the issue to the best of our ability. If we can't de-escalate it, there again, we work with a higher law enforcement, and we'll call in police. And then from there, I'll take any questions, any concerns, any comments. But I just really want to just show, like I said, a quick PowerPoint kind of showing that what our rangers do, what our role is in the park system, and not so much the being the police, but being someone that can help them out and someone that makes our park safer. Our rangers are responsive. There's a fence lock, there's a lights out. We have rovers as well that's within another department, but our rangers, we'll go out, and if say someone's playing pickleball after hours or something, someone's playing pickleball too early, anything that's going on, they'll respond to. So like I said, that takes them off of their normal routes and their normal patrols. And so when we're out, we're strictly patrolling. We're riding up and down. We know the hot spots, and we know where things go on. Our rangers will bring back stuff to our Parks and Natural Resources Division, say, hey, this area right here is, it's growing up a little bit. There's some invasives growing up. We can't see all the way back here. We don't have a good site clearance. Can you remove some stuff out? And we'll do that. And but as far as having any authority to make arrest and or write tickets, that goes to the police department, and that's not something that that park rangers can do or would do. Go ahead.
Thank you for the overview, Michael. I think this is what we were looking for. It met my expectations for what I thought DPR was doing specifically, and it's nice to hear the ranger program is, while you guys are short-staffed, very busy and doing a lot of things. I think, please raise your hand if you have anything to add here. I think just for as a baseline, could you just tell us about what rangers are wearing uniform-wise and what they carry? I'm just interested in knowing what they have in terms of enforcement and what they're wearing.
Yeah, so our rangers usually do have vehicles that say rangers on them, but sometimes they get cycled out and they're just in normal Arlington County vehicles. But their attire most of the time will be green pants, and then they'll have their shirt will have a ranger badge on it. And like I said, it'll say Arlington County Park Ranger, and they all, they carry a radio, and they also have cell phones. All of them have work cell phones. So there's a direct ranger line. I don't have that number on me right now, but if you call that, it does push it right out to one of the rangers that is currently on site or working, to their cell phone, so they can either get that message and or be notified.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Please go ahead.
Hi, Michael.
Adam.
Adam Rasmussen.
Yeah.
Two questions for you. One is, how many rangers do you have, and how many are usually on duty at any given time?
Yeah, so we have 4 full-time rangers and 1 part-time ranger. And so one of our rangers is a ranger 2. And so that would be, the supervisor, the lead. And we have anywhere between 2 to 3 rangers on staff at one time. So while that doesn't seem like a lot, and they're predominantly doing the ranger function, as I mentioned, we have Parks and Natural Resources staff from 6 till 5 o'clock, and then at that meantime, you have your rangers in until 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening. During the summertime, when it gets warmer, when it's lighter outside earlier in the mornings, our park staff will come in earlier. And our ranger staff will stay a little later. 1, because it's light outside. 2, because when it's warmer, people want to be outside more, and when more people are outside, it tends to lead to some unnecessary behavior at times. So we have anywhere from 2 to 3 on staff at time, and as well as, but we have 5 rangers altogether.
Okay, and so seems to me you're implying that it's not just the rangers, but that other park staff are enforcing rules as well, or are the park rangers the only ones who are authorized to do that?
Well, no. So all of our staff are equipped with the knowledge to be able to help someone sleeping in a park, give them the resources to be able to help them out and steer them in the right direction. Our park rangers, their main function is to be that, and quote unquote enforcement and or direct knowledge, and serve that role. Or any of our park rangers, any of our staff that are out, if dogs are off leash, they're able to, to handle that. If they're, hey, please put your dog on a leash. If there's drinking on the parks, you know, while other staff can handle it, our park rangers have been trained in it. So trained in that communication, trained, and most of the time these are frequent flyers. These are people that usually, if you drink in a park at a certain location at nighttime, and that happens again, that's a night. Sometimes it's the same person, sometimes it's not. But the relationship that these park rangers have developed with a lot of these park users, whether it's stuff that was brought to them by negative actions and or good actions, there's usually a good outcome that comes of it because of the relationship these park rangers have developed with a lot of people in this community. So while a lot of our staff are skilled in handling certain situations, we prefer that our rangers who are, trained, deal with it on a daily basis. We prefer them, the ones that have to lead the interaction.
Okay. Thank you. I just, want to point out how crazy it is to have 2 or 3 park rangers. Or how many parks do we have in this county?
How many?
148. 148. And again, I'm not saying against you, but I'm just saying in general, it just seems crazy that we only have 2 or 3 people on duty who are really enforcing our park rules. Because I understand why other park staff would not be inclined to enforce rules because they don't have the training because there's the rangers are supposed to do that, but when you only have 2 or 3 rangers on staff, I think that leads to a lot of I guess
I think it's demand for their time.
Right. And one issue where that's come up, and I'll finish with this. I'm sorry to take much time. Is in the sports community, youth sports community, we're having issues where it's especially true with diamond fields because of the dirt in fields, but it also happens, I think, on the soccer fields too, where kids are. It rains, and the athletic field maintenance staff is closing our fields at the slightest bit of rain. And they keep saying it's because the fields, can't handle it. One of the problems we have is that, people, when it rains, the fields are closed, kids are running their bikes through the infield diamonds. And then the next time it rains, of course, what happens is the water gets into the spots. Since the county has also decided to open up fields, that they're no longer closed. In fact, they even take away the fences now. People think that these fields are their dog park. And so dogs are out there pooping, digging up ground, making the fields less safe for our kids to play on. And so to hear that we only have a few rangers on staff that might be able to enforce these rules is disheartening. I do plan future to say something.
We are, well, I think just to point out there, I know this is not really directed at you, Michael, but we have an opportunity to talk about the budget next meeting. I don't know if this will come up, but we will be writing a letter about it. We won't talk about that next meeting because it is with the Sports Commission, but when we regroup in March, we will be writing a letter on the budget, obviously. So we should talk about what are the most important points, just given what we're learning. And this could rise to the top there. Yeah, Jill.
Hi, I'm Jill Barker. I'm interested in being able to say to people that Arlingtonians that go to their parks are safe. And I'm just wondering if you interact with, I know you have your own park ranger notifications and you keep records on that, but are you interacting with the police so that if the police were to come to a call of an assault or whatever in a park, are we keeping those records so that I can make that statement that people are safe in the park? And then the other thing I'm interested in knowing about is if there's any bias in enforcement of.
Yeah, so there's regular communication with park staff and police. There's certain things that if they're working a case or they're doing certain things that they can't, you know, release that information to us because it might jeopardize, you know, certain things that are going on. If we have, say we have graffiti, a big graffiti, we'll check in with the police, and they'll come take pictures, and they'll document it, and they'll be able to like look back at the resources of other pictures they've taken, and they'll be able to show it around the community. And we've had some success, right, of actually catching people without cameras just by people saying, "Oh, that's my buddy does that," or you know, it'd be amazed how proud they are of showing the stuff that people of stuff that's been vandalized. And then you know, a lot of this people that are doing this vandalism as far as graffiti, most of them are younger, right? And so you say, you know, the police are the ones that will do that research for us and do that behind the scenes, and bring those cases and or anything else that stems from that. You know, a lot of the sometimes you'll hear this happened in a park, or the arrest was made in this park. That doesn't necessarily mean that it occurred in the park, right? So sometimes it's the closest location to where they responded. Sometimes there was a foot pursuit. Sometimes there was something that happened offside of park property, but you know, the arrest was maybe a foot pursuit, and it was the arrest was taken to park. Do they notify us every time there is you know, something that they respond to in a park? No. Are we notified later at a later date? Yes. But not I mean, because like I said, there's some things that they just can't divulge that information to us for, you know, like, you know, for the information in the case. And but there are things, I mean, we work very well together. We do cleanups to have to give them better, you know, if they're short numbers or they can't get out of their car and pursue you know, take a stroll through this area, they'll go out and walk areas, they'll go out and do things. But if they can't, and you know, if they pull into a parking lot, I mean, we'll make sure that visual site clearance for them is as far as we can possibly make it, so that way they could see in the parks and you know, have that extra layer of enforcement. On the bias, we don't, you know, we don't keep that statistic with parks and natural resource. Our park rangers, like I said, last year we gave out one park safe, and that's because we want to educate. We don't want to be those people making a negative experience for someone else in the park. Because if we can be positive reinforcement and we can lead in that route, then you know, I think everybody's a win-win. So you know, as far as anything bias with us, and you know, zero bias on profile anything, like I said, we try to do everything proactively, but things happen. It makes us reactive. We don't go looking for drinkers. We don't go, but if we're getting calls over and over and over again, that's part of our patrol route. We come upon it. We don't pick out the people that are drinking, right? You chose to be the drinkers. So, you know, but like I said, when we interact with people, it's not, you know, what are you doing drinking in the parks? Is like, it's, hey, here's the rules. This is why you can't drink in the parks. This is why you can't do this. This is, you know, and it's for the safety of everyone, right? And it's for, so everyone will have a better experience in the parks. So, like I said, it's all about education for our staff, and just to be able to not, you know, some people see the rangers coming and they think it's, you know, law enforcement. That's, you know, that's not us. And so, but like I said, yeah, we interact with police regularly, and very good relationships. But you know, just like police, they're very rarely are they on the scene of a crime before it happens. And it's just like our rangers are the same way. I mean, we will patrol certain areas if we're getting a bunch of calls for particular stuff going on in that area. But you know, just to try to stop it before it happens. But besides that, you know, our, you know, anything that we do with the police is usually after a call had come in, or after they have wrapped up their case, and or they can say, hey, there's an incident in the park. We can't give you all the information, but we wanted to let you know that something happened. We can give you more information when we're able to.
So just, if I can just follow up real quick. So, I mean, so there's a bias among certain people that it's not safe to go into the park, that I might get jumped, I might get accosted or assaulted. But are you saying that that's really just not based in facts?
Yeah, I would say that, look, I think everyone should be vigilant, right? I think that everyone should be aware of their surroundings, but I would venture out to say that our parks are very, very safe. Very, we don't, now, am I the one, am I police? Am I responding to all the calls? Absolutely not. But I would say that for the most part, our parks are extremely safe. You go back and look, we don't have that on how many people use every one of our parks and trails and natural areas every day. But look at all the programs we put on. Look at all the fields that are in use, all the playgrounds that are taking, all the water, splash pads, interactive stuff, all the dog parks, all the running trails, riding trails, all that stuff going on. And if there was an issue, we would know about it. And so I'm comfortable in saying that our parks, um, um, you know, are very, very safe.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. I think this was a great primer for us. I think the questions that you brought up, Jill, to me, as we continue to see how, I think density is a huge factor here on things like police cooperation, getting good statistics and data, and then also putting a lens to racial equity. Yeah. Yes.
One more quick
please,
question. You referred to a number earlier, a phone number. Is there a number like for the Rovers that you can call and report something to the park rangers?
No, the ranger, usually they can contact them via radio or they'll have their number. I can, Marco, I'll get that over to you so you can provide that number with the group. It's on most of the signs in the parks as soon as you enter with the ranger numbers. Now, you did mention the Rovers. They do work with athletics, right? So we work with the Rovers hand in hand, our rangers, and so they can also respond to calls such as but a lot of their stuff is more athletic based, right? Like disagreement on a field. The tennis net broke at certain area, pickleball net broke, or there's people such as your case earlier, they're biking on the field when it's closed. The Rangers and Rovers both can respond to those.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, we'll make sure that we get those numbers out to the commission too. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I think we're good for. Oh, yes, thank you. Anyone on the phone want to add in any comments before we move to our next topic? Cool. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks very much.
You get briefing if things change or if updates are made, and we can talk about it as part of our financial update as well. So thank you. So much.
Thanks for having me. And if you have any questions, just pass them along to Marco, and he can put you in direct contact with me, and/or I'll be sure to answer them right away. And just let me know if we can help out in any way possible.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. Okay, next up, guys, we got about 30 minutes and a few more topics to cover today. So next up, we have our good friend Alonzo on to talk about a subject near and dear to all of our hearts, deer in Arlington. We go from our urban utopia to now our suburban and or rural utopia, talking about deer. So yes, he has an update on the deer assessment engagement. And yes, please kick it off.
Gotcha. It's hard to follow my boss, but that sounds good. Again, I need to find it. Unfortunately, here it is. I hope you guys can see this. I had a hard time. I've been breaking up a little bit, so hopefully it's just my end not hearing you and you guys can see it. So can you guys see my presentation has not popped up on my end.
We can see it.
We can see it on our end.
It has not popped up on my end, so that's not good. So I'll tell you what, I'll open it. Is it on slideshow fashion or is it okay? So that's weird. I'm gonna just
Alonzo, I
look
have
at it separately.
So Alonzo, I can navigate it if you need a hand.
Yeah, so hopefully so you can see it, right? I mean, I've got it. I opened it up separately on my laptop, on my tablet, and I'm just gonna go with it from there. So whatever. So if it doesn't work, please take, Mark, please take the lead and go ahead and move it for me. All right.
We're no longer seeing it now, actually.
Oh, you're not.
It just
Okay.
went away.
Okay, so that's not good. I do apologize. We did look at this before.
You're breaking
You
up
guys hear me?
now, Alonso.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Maybe
my-
take off your video.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna drop. I don't know why it's not showing up, but I'm gonna restart this. So I apologize. All right, so it's stuck. I cannot do anything on my tablet. Like, hello?
We can hear you.
We can hear you,
Okay.
Alonso.
Okay, I can't do anything on my tablet, so I don't know, Marco, if you can lead it or whatever.
The issue is we can't
Oh.
see the presentation.
Oh, you can't see it at all. That's
Yeah.
okay.
If you,
That's
Alonso,
Or-
do you have could you
Yeah,
email it to me, Max?
Yeah.
And then I can share my screen.
yeah. I'm gonna. Oh, it's here. It is. It says we couldn't start the presentations. Let me try this one more time on you, if you guys don't mind. I apologize. We tried this right at the beginning, and it worked fine. I don't know why it's not working now. All right, so I cannot see it, but can you guys see it?
I can see it.
You should
We
be
can
able
see
to
it.
put up your screen. You go to a different app.
Yeah, and I'm having a hard time hearing you too. So I'm really sorry. I will. I can send it into Marco if that's possible. But
Yeah.
for whatever reason, it's does not seem to. I can't do anything with this on my end. I apologize. Not sure what happened, but it worked fine when we tested it earlier, Marco. Now I don't know why it's completely is not working. So I'm
Just
gonna
go
stop.
through it. Anybody on the call can.
Perhaps you can send it and we can move on to the next
That's
agenda
right,
item?
yeah, that's
Okay,
Yes.
great. Yeah,
Okay, I'm
awesome.
gonna send it over to Marco, and I apologize about that.
Awesome. To keep, in the interest of time then, I'm gonna move on to the next item and we'll come back to the Deer Assessment Program. Okay, next topic is 2023 Plan of Action and Year in Review. So we reserved a little bit of time to talk about it today, but in the interest of time, I don't think it's valuable for us to have a group discussion. I've put out drafts of both documents to the commission. You guys have them in your inbox. If you want, I'll do a re-up send out. Do you mind doing that for me, actually?
Sure.
Okay, so then Marco will do a re-up send out to you guys for comments. It would be great if we could get them finalized before the February Sports Commission meeting. And in transparency, I went pretty light on both, just to be honest with you. I think I both think we kind of over-engineer it in years past, but I also think we did a pretty good job writing it last year. So the work plan is more or less a overview of the standard activities that we do. And the past year report is a summary of what we've done publicly, including all the letters and SPRCs. So take a look. Let me know if you see anything missing. If you don't like the wording of anything, there was a huge focus on COVID in 2022 that I took out in 2023. We're looking forward to things like being able to have an in-person Bill Thomas Award celebration for the first time in like 3 or 4 years. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a little bit too, but just a reminder to please take a look at that email and Marco will re-up that for us. Cool, I think we're good to
With that, yes.
Deer, back to Deer.
We can go to the staff reports and because I have.
Let's do that.
Oh, never mind. I've already gotten the presentation.
Okay, all right,
One
whichever
second.
you want.
Or you know what? It's still loading on my email. So what I can do is I can
Yeah,
quickly go through the staff reports. So nothing specific that I need to report on at this point, but I did want to mention to the commission that our next meeting will be the joint meeting with the Sports Commission, and we've actually secured a location at the Lumber Run Community Center. We'll be meeting in the Hickory Multipurpose Room, number 121. It's on the first level of the community center. It's a big room with the divider. So I think we're going to have enough space for both the Sports Commission and for the PRC to meet. We will likely be meeting earlier, probably half an hour before our normal start time, so around 6:30-ish or so. The community center closes at 9, so any and all activity needs to end before that time. So we'll begin a little bit earlier for that meeting. We also began formulating a draft agenda for that meeting. We'll have a lot of topics concerning the DPR 2023 budget, the CIP implementation work that we've been undergoing for the past several months. We'll also be talking about the field fund, rectangular field use within county parks, as well as furthering discussions amongst the commission as it relates to the summer camp registration, which we've heard from previously, ball recycling programs, as well as any ongoing efforts as it's related to pickleball. So we'll have a lot of those topics come to a head, and we'll be looking forward to that for the next meeting.
I'll do a little reminder at the end of this too, but the important points to me are not a Tuesday meeting this month, a Thursday meeting at the end of the month. Lower Run Community Center, 6:30 instead of 7. I think should work okay. We still need to meet quorum for each commission. However, and we will still hold a public comment at the beginning, but we will not be taking any individual Parks and Recreation Commission business. So that means both no discussion of like letters afterwards. We'll save all of that for our March meeting. This is just like, this is partially because of the electronic meeting guidance that we can't split up and have separate conversations while maintaining public meeting guidelines. So we're just gonna make this a joint meeting only. So only joint topics, joint conversations, any joint action we're taking. So we can, for example, have a conversation about the letters that each of our commissions will be writing about topics that we share, like the budget. Fair? So that's update for next.
So then we'll also recess any staff reports related to February or any commission member reports. So we'll restart that whole sequence again in March.
So to be clear, nothing needed. You get a break for February and you get another break in August. So there's that. Okay.
Quick question on that.
Yeah.
Are there going to be any planning meetings for the meeting in February?
We had a meeting with the Sports Commission chair last week to plan the February meeting. And then Jill and I will meet with Marco for the February meeting, really to talk about the March meeting, not talk about February. Is there anything else that you
Well, I just want to see if I can get a little more detail about, I mean, I know you mentioned the topics we're going to cover, but just to get some more detail on that. And I don't want to take everyone's time with that, but is there any way that I can get a little bit more detail?
Can we send the draft agenda? Because we've really got it out pretty much, and the topics are laid out there. Nothing new beyond what Mark said, but laid out so that you can see even the time we'd like to apportion to each side.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And we'll still be working with the Sports Commission staff liaison to make sure that we have enough time to speak on the various items. But in terms of what I just mentioned, that's essentially going to be the breadth of the discussion that we're going to have with both commissions.
We had a few other miscellaneous topics that we chose to cut.
Yes.
They're so miscellaneous that I can't even remember what they were. But these really were the bubble to the top subjects that we thought we needed our commissions to have. But yes, please review. I think there's still room for like.
Well, yeah, I'm going to add a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I understand what it is. So that,
for sure. And these are all topics I think I don't have as much expertise in. So for our sportsy people, please, I'm excited for the next meeting. Yeah. I'm just not a sports girl. All right. I think we're good, Alonzo. You're back on business.
And Max, do you have the copy of the presentation? I think I just sent it.
Yep, I got it. So Alonzo, I'll share my screen and then you just let me know when to change the slide.
Thank you much. Please do. I apologize for the technical difficulties.
All
right.
good. Hold
Go
on
ahead.
one moment. Just want to full screen this.
Yeah, and put it in slideshow. Thank you.
All righty.
Okay, so again, we're going to be talking about Arlington County deer assessment and next steps that are possible. If you want to flip to the next one, please. First, a little bit of background as well as a potential timeline of what has happened in the past. So, as we all know, of course, white-tailed deer are important and necessary aspect of all of wildlife, and they have important functions when they're in balance with the surrounding habitat. And no one argues that, and that's definitely something that we're looking to that we look to continue to promote. Deer almost disappeared from Virginia by 1930. But there are now maybe more deer than any other time in the history. The population estimates to be 850,000, 1 million deer currently, according to the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources. Through the 1940s, 1980s, because of restocking efforts from North Carolina, Pennsylvania, other places, and laws protecting deer, and now the favorable edge habitat, it's perfect habitat for deer. Deer have rebounded an exponential rate in Virginia, all right? As noted in the Wildlife of Arlington, a natural history resource inventory technical report that followed the Natural Resource Management Plan in July of 2011, deer were seen as a possible concern. Staff has, since that time, anecdotally noticed evidence that deer could be overbrowsing over the years. Arlington had its first deer panel with regional deer experts in 2012 following that to discuss, the possibilities of what could happen with potential overbrowsing by deer. Since then, Arlington hired Stuart Green. They conducted a deer drone survey. I reported on that before, very difficult to do because we're in a no-fly zone, whatever. And by April of 21, they finished a report, and there is, you can reach out and look at the report. It's on our deer page and so forth. By now, we've hired White Buffalo to conduct a deer assessment, and that's currently taking place. So this deer assessment, it's in 3 different phases, and the first phase has to do with collection analysis of the deer vegetation impact in our natural land parks, and that's sort of what they've done. Included in this deer assessment, not just a deer browse survey, but also a review of scientific literature to see the most up-to-date sorts of things that are going on with deer and so forth, as well as benchmarking with nearby jurisdictions to talk about that have similar habitats, to talk about what they're doing, what their experience has been, and so forth with deer. All right. So we're currently in that, and most of this right now, there is a current deer page, but it's being updated, and it's being updated to not just the deer page, but also a project page as well. And there'll be a new timeline that has to go along with that. On to the next slide, please. So, some potential problems if there happen to be an overpopulation of deer and there are problems with ecology. So deer numbers above the ecological carrying capacity can affect the ecology of the natural lands. That's beyond what the habitat can support. Okay, when that does happen, there's a possibility the forests do not regenerate, native plants supporting other wildlife suffer or fail to reproduce. Insects and ground nesting birds start to decline, invasives start to spread and prosper, and erosion and compaction issues may also increase when you have too many deer above what the land can possibly support. So that's unhealthy. It's not only unhealthy for wildlife and flora and people, but to the deer themselves. And it also makes it easier for disease transmission. Right now, it's something we're really worried about because chronic wasting disease has basically jumped counties every year. And as I heard just last week, it has already made it to Fairfax County. It's the first possibility of chronic wasting disease having reached that. And that, of course, is right next door. That is something that we really worry about because it can it does cause deer a considerable amount of damage. It can be fatal, and it may also affect people. So we really have to be, nervous and look about that chronic wasting disease is not something that we want to spread. All right. Another thing that possibly could happen is deer vehicle collisions. That's something that, is safety concern, is something we always have to be careful about. There all could be damaged landscape areas, whether they're community or private gardens, yards, flower beds, all of that kind of stuff. That is something that, while not directly related to what we're looking at, which is natural land parks, could also happen. And then also tick-borne diseases, of which Lyme disease, luckily, we do not have a ton of deer ticks, as they're sometimes called, brown leg ticks, in this area, but there are other tick-borne diseases that could be out there, and so we have to be aware of that as well. On to the next one, please. So looking at this, we're now looking at all the things I kind of mentioned, and we're kind of at the beginning over here. We're right now in February, and we're just starting our first update. You're the very first commission that we're basically informing that the engagement process is finished. They are now, the contractor is going through this draft, and another couple of weeks after they will present the results to us, and it will be posted so that everyone can see. But right about there, and then the engagement piece begins in earnest, and that's why I'm bringing this to your attention, because there will be a lot of opportunities, not just for us to present to the commission, so you're aware of what's going on, but also for community input. And that will involve, all aspects of the community. That'll probably take place sometime in March or April, depending on when we receive the final draft of the deer assessment. That will be phase 2 of this. The engagement portion of this will continue on through April. There'll be questionnaires sent out to the public. There'll be some feedback that we will take from the public and so forth. And then the contractor will look at those kind of information. You take what they can from it to inform their decisions, and we will come back to the commissions, and there'll be another round of community engagements and so forth. So it's kind of spelled out here, and this is very rough. Once it's completely settled that this is going to be the timeline, it'll be updated on a regular basis on a deer page. But this is more than anything else to inform you that they have wrapped up the first phase of the deer assessment, which is, again, as I mentioned, just a survey of deer browse in our natural land parks, a review of scientific literature of what the latest information is on deer, as well as benchmarking of local jurisdictions to see how they have dealt with possible overpopulation of deer as well. And now we will bring it out to get some feedback to the public. Everyone's going to be involved. Of course, I expect the commissioners to be involved as well as the general public, and we're just beginning to do that. And then you should know that there will be a questionnaire and opportunities for public feedback throughout this whole process. So again, I don't have a ton to report, but just so you know where we are in this, and to make you aware that there will be a possibility for you guys to be involved and give your feedback on a lot of these sorts of things. And with that, I'll stop. And if you guys have some questions I can possibly answer, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you, Alonzo. I think major outputs that I took from this is we need to be possibly ready for another presentation in the summer, but no matter what, we will engage in the letter writing process early summer on this. It is a topic that isn't our bread and butter, obviously. I think it would be my preference to have a follow-up meeting to get preliminary results, and just a exclusive, presentation from you would be great. And we can look forward to that. Yeah, Peter, if you want to go ahead and start us off.
Thank you, Alonzo. Just quick question. When you say you're in or information sharing with neighboring jurisdictions, does that include the district?
Yeah, so it includes Rock Creek Park as one. Okay, so that's very similar habitat as what we have. I mean, you can see why that's one of them. Fairfax County, the city of Rockville, all of these, all of the neighboring jurisdictions should have very similar habitats and similar experiences with deer. Those are the ones that they are reaching out to get their benchmark and are looking at what they have either experienced or are planning to do about this if it becomes an issue.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, Melissa.
In the 2021 survey, I think I recall it was about surveying how many deer where they are. Will there be any additional information gotten in the new partnership with White Buffalo, or is it just the same as before?
Yeah, so basically what the first one did is basically tell us where the deer are spending their time and gave us the most up-to-date numbers as to what they were. And then, there were certain areas where there were more deer than others, and it makes sense that those would be in natural land parks where, the best suitable places for them to hide in during the day would be. What this particular study has done is to look at the extent of the deer browse on certain plants and see what the damage may be. Is it something that's sustainable by what we have out there? Are they hitting preferred plants? Are they hitting less preferred plants? What is the overall extent of the deer browse? And that's what this one did. It basically went to several different parks, concentrated in natural land parks, to find out what the level is and whether it's sustainable and is beyond the ecological capacity of the habitat that they're currently in.
Thank you. Cole, please. Oh, go ahead. That was it.
If you need help finding areas that have deer browse There are lots of park stewards out there who are happy to take pictures and send them in.
Well, we went through them and we did a very good walkthrough with the.
We're
with
just
people.
offering up.
Yeah.
Gotcha,
And I'm sure
gotcha.
you're gonna get a lot of pictures this summer from folks, one-on-one.
Okay.
Anyone else want to provide comments? Thank you so much, Alonzo, for being here on this preview, and I think we should definitely plan for you to come back in the summer.
Thank you.
Prepare to be engaged.
Thank you. And guys, I want to just thank you so much, Alonzo. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to apologize up front. I think we have at least 10 more minutes of content for us today, so we will go over a little bit on 9 o'clock, my promise. But we can go through it.
Oh, will the meeting end? It's a good 5 minutes.
No, it's just mean. It's a bully.
Oh,
Yeah. Bullying warning.
Is it like those countdown clocks when you want to buy something?
Exactly. It's all fake. Okay. All right. Okay. So we charged through the next two agenda items, the plan of action and the staff report. So I'm going to move us to commission member reports, and I'm not going to go through all of them. There's a lot of good content I saw from the sports commission, especially. We're going to be engaging in a lot of these topics, but please review, reach out to folks. The two important things I really want to mention here are Kevin Manuel, our resident South Arlington guru, is moving back to the beloved state of Rhode Island at the end of this month, and we'll be losing him as a commissioner, which is, Kevin, I just want to say thank you for your amazing work on the commission. In addition to losing our expertise, we will also have openings on the Crystal Towers 3 project and the Melwood Glove Study project. I will be spending this month and next month filling those positions with you guys. So if anyone has interest in Melwood Glove Study or Crystal Towers 3, reach out to me or I will reach out to you. And Kevin, please, if you just want to say a few words before you leave us.
Sure. No, thank you, Shruti. I really appreciate you saying that. It's been a pleasure over the last year or so working with the few of you that I've gotten the chance to work with. Unfortunately, with us, still observing COVID protocols last year, I didn't really get to meet a lot of you in person. But it's been a pleasure serving on the commission for the past year. I'm definitely going to miss these meetings and getting to, really have some type of positive effect on the community in Arlington. And who knows, even though I'm moving now, maybe one day I'll come back to the area. That's
Please
always on the table.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. You're always welcome to come back and public comment. We'd love to see your face again, and we hope you love Rhode Island. I love it too, so we'll come visit. The other commission member report thing I want to mention is we're really gonna dress up Bill Thomas Award with bells this year. This is the year we promised that we'd finally do a big party celebration for the culmination of our 2022-2023 winners. And I'd like to put that commitment in. I don't know if we're behind the ball in any ways to do so, but last session we had, thank you so much to Dean and Melissa for chairing the Bill Thomas Award. Melissa, I would ask if possible if you'd be down for it to be our main person. And then I'm considering, if anyone else would like to join Melissa off the bat, I will take someone else. But with the opportunity of recruiting a couple of new members, I always like to add someone new to the Bill Thomas Award. And so I may add someone brand spanking new to be your partner if no one else wants to join this year. I think the objective would be to have an in-person celebration of sort for sure, along with the rigorous adjudication that we now have an approved and tested process for. But, we haven't heard anything about applicants yet, so I'm not feeling behind the ball there. But we'll re-engage this process over the next months. I think the portal opens about now. We send out the mass communication about now. And so get ready for that. Any questions about the member reports for anyone? I'll be following up with a few of you on openings. The ones that I mentioned are the only ones that we have standing. We did a good job last month. Okay, so now we're going to move on to other business. And again, I have about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of topics. I wanted to actually start with, I know we've been talking a lot about a few topics that kind of coincide. Specifically, Peter has brought to us the question about Quincy Park and asked if we could talk about that in conjunction with the Marymount University topic. And Peter, I would love to open it up to you. We are going to try and keep this topic to under 10 minutes just for timing purposes. And I do have other things talk about today, but wanted to open it up to you to talk with the commission about that.
Okay, well, it's hard to know how to get a handle on this whole thing, but Quincy Park is under potential. There are potential wonderful opportunities and threats to the park. And one of the threats, which I don't even really know any details about, is that Marymount University might attempt to utilize the baseball field for its baseball team and do some reconstruction. And I'm not sure what, there's some talk about that. Personally, some of us are not too happy about having the recycling the bottle recycling operation right in the park, because it's noisy and kind of a little bit disruptive. And the solid waste commission for the county is coming up with a solid waste plan for every aspect of solid waste. And so potentially there's an opportunity to have a discussion about moving the recycling operation out of the park into maybe the Buck property, just a couple of blocks over towards I-66 or something like that. I discovered that there was there's a building being constructed right now. In fact, Max Evert, I think, designed the plaza in front of it. There's a building being constructed right now at Fairfax and Quincy, and they put aside, they pledged a certain amount of money. I'm not sure how much, but more than $1 million for some kind of art embellishment or some kind of improvement for the county. And then the county board decided that would be used for a black box theater, which eventually got dropped, and they aren't putting a black box theater into that building. So there's theoretically, or more than theoretically, there's actually X amount of money sitting in an account someplace to be used from that developer for something. And I've long been saying that since that building is right next to Quincy Park, it would be appropriate for the money to be used to make some kind of improvements to Quincy Park, of which there are numerous opportunities. I think the county is, the county's a little reluctant to jump into Quincy Park in a piecemeal basis, and says, well, Quincy Park is going to be on the capital improvement plan, and we'll evaluate the entire situation with all the aspects of the park, including its relationship with the library and parking and the sports fields and the brick buildings that are scattered around it, and everything else when we get to the CIP. But the CIP, as far as I can tell, is many years off. It's on the list, but it's at the bottom of the list. It's maybe back at the end of the 20s, or maybe even into the 2030s. And so I guess the easiest way to short circuit my lengthy talk here is whether the commission can officially request that the Quincy Park CIP be moved up dramatically in the pecking order, so that all these issues and opportunities are dealt with sooner rather than later.
Sure, Mark. Yeah, you go ahead. I have comments too. Please go ahead.
Moving it up is, this was done with the fields at Kenmore. Kenmore was scheduled. It's been in the planning for years to put artificial turf on the sports fields there. And what's that? Some of this. Yeah. Most specifically the soccer field, but I think it was scheduled for 2032 originally in the CIP, and after the board getting inundated by soccer parents mostly, it got bumped to 2025, I believe it is now. So if you want to change the CIP, I think that's the the best way to do it is to get some sort of grassroots enthusiasm about changing that.
Okay.
Get forward with that.
From a rules perspective, I will say yet again, we need to wait for some sort of action that we can take as the commission on a coordinated effort, which would either necessitate, and I'm eagerly waiting, some sort of official application from Marymount University that we can rip to shreds, literally tear apart.
Wait,
Or-
we can't have pre-bias.
Okay, that we can analyze thoroughly with a fine-tooth
There you go,
comb,
okay.
with a lice comb,
And
Um,
and a pair of scissors.
and a pair of scissors, and a pair of scissors. Beyond that, I do think that, you know, this is a problem that cannot be handled piecewise, to your point. And so we need to find a way to get that mechanism.
Well,
I think grassroots is that way.
This is also gonna, their plan, because Marymount wants to upgrade their sports programs entirely. Part of their plan is to, where the current salt dome, which isn't a dome anymore, is to take all of that land too and turn it into some sports facility as well.
We have to
So
be
it's a
like
very large,
close on this.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But the county keeps saying there's not really look at here.
There's nothing yet.
There's
nothing yet.
some conceptual pictures that have been drawn, but there's no real plan and there's no proposal. There's been some community meetings with the community associations around Marymount, but there hasn't been anything concrete proposed beyond that.
We will get first access on any Marymount topics. I've made this question for Jane, and she knows that we are very interested in Marymount specifically. This is not on the Quincy Park topic necessarily, just that, Peter, but I think Quincy Park needs to be handled holistically on its own. Yeah, Cole, please.
I'm just trying to remember when we did the review of what the county needed for snow removal and why they needed to redo the salt dome and then how important an area that was for the county. And I didn't realize it had been released.
No, it's not been.
No, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, these are all still
Oh, I
rumors
see,
about
okay,
Marymount.
all right, I was just thought, did I miss a turn?
But I think we are right to be skeptical that either the county may give in to Marymount, a huge institution in this area, or that Marymount might.
But their own grassroots effort.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting. They may have influence that we cannot control.
I want a biophilic salt dome.
Yeah, I want to buy a Flix Alto too. That
Yeah,
doesn't really go
exactly.
hand in hand, but we could try to
Well,
do
the redevelopment of that area when they put in the barn, that's not a salt dome anymore.
Right.
The entire neighborhood,
Salt
that
barn.
was very active on that whole process. So if Marymount hadn't released the pictures
that.
of what they had in mind, I think this wouldn't be such a big deal, but they started doing concept drawing. It freaked everybody out.
So I think all to say, let's keep abreast on this issue. I don't see any immediate action from our commission as a whole, but we need to stay close on this. So yeah, thank you, Peter, for bringing it up. We can continue to talk about it. Okay, the other topics I wanted to bring up before we close today, other business, sorry. Okay, letters. So again, reminder to please take a look at plan of action and end of your report email that Mark is going to re-up for us. Provide me any comments, just send them directly to me. I'm going to basically be incorporating anything and pushing it out. My goal is to get it done. I'm not here for the end of January and the beginning of February. I'm planning on getting it done during that time though. So shoot it my way. There's no due date. And also no one's waiting on it for us, so we can take our time. Okay, then the other thing, just logistics, guys. We have 15 total seats on this commission. 13 today are filled. And tomorrow, when Kevin's no longer on the commission, we will have 12. So that means we have 3 open seats. So from a quorum's perspective, we're still at 6 right now, and we will be at 7 when we add one more, and therefore 7 would be our quorum. So again, all to say, if you know of anyone who'd like to apply, this is the time to get it in. And so I think it's great that Nelson, I'm really excited to get into talking a little bit about openings that we can today. but would encourage anyone to apply as well. And thank you to those who have recently re-upped their commission spots. I really do appreciate it. I think that's it. So as a wrap up, just final reminder on next month's meeting will be on Thursday, the 23rd at Lover Run, 6:30. Quorum still needs to stand, but we've been doing great. So let me know if you need any allowances for that.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you guys. Yeah, we did it. Only 11 minutes late. Thank you to our virtual participants as well today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, it is.
The one
I
topic that we
did-
dropped that
I